Ethan slumped into the worn-out booth of the small diner, exhaling a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Across from him, his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, swung her legs excitedly beneath the table. To her, this was an adventuring out, just the two of them. To Ethan, it was another reminder of how far they'd fallen. He glanced at the menu, mentally calculating what he could afford. A grilled cheese for Lily, maybe just coffee for himself. Money was too tight. Since his wife walked out 2 years ago, he had been working double shifts, trying to keep them afloat. The exhaustion clung to him like a second skin. Just as he was about to order, Lily gasped, her tiny hand flying to her mouth. Then, before he could react, she leaped from her seat and bolted across the diner. "Lily!" Ethan's heart stopped as he shot up after her. She ran straight to an elegantly dressed woman sitting at the far end of the diner. Ethan's breath caught as Lily threw her arms around the woman's waist and cried out, "Mommy!" The woman's head snapped down, her eyes wide with shock. The entire diner went silent. Ethan's pulse pounded as he rushed to the table. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. Lily, honey, come here," he urged, his face flushing with embarrassment. But the woman, tall, poised, with striking blue eyes, was staring at Lily like she'd seen a ghost. "I'm not your mammy, sweetheart," she said gently, stroking Lily's hair. Her voice trembled slightly. Lily blinked up at her. "But you look just like her." Her voice wavered and suddenly she looked uncertain. Ethan swallowed hard and pulled his daughter back into his arms. She misses her mom," he explained, his voice thick. He turned to the woman. "I'm so sorry for the confusion." The woman's gaze softened. "No need to apologize." She studied him for a moment. "Would you both like to join me?" Ethan hesitated. The last thing he wanted was pity from some wealthy stranger, but before he could decline, Lily piped up, "Can we, Daddy?" He sighed. "All right." As they sat, Ethan finally recognized the woman Isabella Caldwell, the billionaire philanthropist who was always in the news for her charity work. He felt even more out of place. But Isabella was warm, kind. She asked Lily about school, her favorite cartoons, and even made her giggle with a funny story about a dog that ate her shoe. For the first time in months, Ethan saw his daughter truly happy. Then Isabella turned to him. "Things have been tough, haven't they?" Ethan's jaw tightened. He didn't want to admit it, but there was no hiding the exhaustion in his face. "I lost my main job a few months back," he admitted reluctantly. "I'm doing everything I can, but it's been hard." Isabella nodded. Then, reaching into her purse, she pulled out a business card. "Come to my office tomorrow," she said. "I run a foundation that helps single parents get back on their feet, childcare, job placement, even housing assistance." Ethan stared at the card. He had always believed he had to do everything alone, but here was someone offering a lifeline. "Why would you do this for us?" he asked, his voice raw. She smiled softly. "Because once, a kind stranger did the same for me." Tears pricked Ethan's eyes as he squeezed Lily's hand. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. And for the first time in a long while, hope didn't feel so far away. Ethan sat there, staring at the business card in his hands. The words blurred slightly as his mind raced. Could this really be happening? Could someone like Isabella Caldwell truly want to help someone like him? Lily, oblivious to the weight of the moment, was still chattering happily, describing her favorite bedtime stories. Isabella listened intently, smiling at her in a way that made Ethan's chest tighten. She really did look like Lily's mother, same high cheekbones, same deep blue eyes. No wonder Lily had mistaken her. Ethan cleared his throat. "I appreciate this. Really, but I don't want to be a charity case." Isabella tilted her head, studying him. "This isn't charity, Ethan. It's an opportunity." She leaned forward slightly. "The truth is, I know what it's like to struggle. I wasn't always the woman you see today." Ethan furrowed his brow. He had read about Isabella before, self-made billionaire, head of multiple foundations, a powerful name in the business world. What kind of struggle could she have faced? Before he could ask, the diner door swung open, and a man in a sleek suit strode in. His sharp eyes scanned the room before landing on Isabella. "Miss Caldwell," he said, nodding. "Your driver is waiting." Isabella sighed and glanced at Ethan. "Come by tomorrow," she said again. Let's talk. She stood, smoothing her coat, then looked down at Lily. It was so lovely meeting you, sweetheart. Lily beamed. You too, Miss Isabella. A shadow of something sadness flickered in Isabella's eyes, but she quickly recovered. Good night, Lily. Then, with one last glance at Ethan, she turned and walked out, leaving him holding the card like it was the most important thing in the world. Ethan exhaled. Well, kiddo, looks like we've got somewhere to be tomorrow. Lily grinned. Does this mean we can get pancakes again? He laughed for the first time in weeks, ruffling her hair. We'll see. But as they left the diner, he couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change forever. The next morning, Ethan stood outside a towering glass building in downtown Manhattan, gripping Lily's small hand. He glanced down at his worn-out jeans and button-down. He had done his best to look presentable, but standing in front of Caldwell Enterprises, he felt completely out of place. You ready, Daddy? Lily asked, beaming up at him. He swallowed hard and nodded. Yeah, kiddo, let's do this. As they stepped inside, a receptionist greeted them warmly. Mr. Carter, Miss Caldwell is expecting you. Right this way. Ethan hesitated before following, feeling the weight of every step as they were led through a sleek hallway into an expansive office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Isabella stood by her desk, smiling as they entered. Glad you came, she said, gesturing to the chairs. Ethan sat stiffly, his hands resting on his knees. I almost didn't. She chuckled. I figured, but you're here, and that's what matters. Before he could respond, Lily gasped, eyes wide as she pointed to a framed photo on Isabella's desk. That's my mummy! Ethan's heart nearly stopped. He turned to see what she was looking at and froze. The photo showed Isabella with another woman, a woman Ethan knew all too well. Lily's mother. His stomach dropped. How do you know her? His voice came out hoarse. Isabella's expression shifted, her fingers tightening around the edge of her desk. Because she was my sister. Ethan's breath hitched. Sister? Isabella nodded slowly, her gaze flickering between Ethan and Lily. Her name was Emily. She hesitated, then spoke softly. I hadn't seen her in years. She disappeared. I had no idea she had a daughter. Ethan felt his entire world tilt. Emily had never mentioned a sister, never spoken of any family. Lily, oblivious to the tension, beamed. That means you're my aunt! Isabella's face softened, and for the first time, Ethan saw something else in her regret. I have so many questions, she murmured, looking at Ethan. So do I, he admitted. Isabella exhaled, then straightened. Then let's get some answers. Ethan sat frozen, his pulse roaring in his ears. His mind raced as he tried to process what Isabella had just said. Emily, his ex, the woman who had abandoned him, and Lily had a sister, and she had never mentioned her? Lily, however, was grinning. Does this mean I have an aunt? Isabella's eyes softened as she knelt beside Lily's chair. Yes, sweetheart, and if you'd let me, I'd love to be in your life. Ethan exhaled slowly. I don't understand. Emily never told me about you. Isabella hesitated before speaking. We were close once, but she cut all ties with our family years ago. I searched for her, but she never wanted to be found. She swallowed. I thought she was gone forever. Ethan clenched his fists, remembering the nights he had stayed awake, wondering where Emily had disappeared to. Now, the truth was unraveling in front of him. She left us, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. One day, she was here. The next, she wasn't. Isabella's gaze flickered with pain. I wish I had known. For a moment, silence settled between them. Then, Isabella reached for Ethan's hand, her grip firm. You've done an incredible job raising her. Ethan let out a breathy laugh. I'm barely getting by. You won't have to anymore, she said gently. I meant what I said about helping, and not just with a job. I want to be part of Lily's life, if you'll let me. Ethan studied her, searching for any sign of pity or obligation, but all he saw was sincerity. Lily tugged on his sleeve. Can we, Daddy? Please. Ethan looked at his daughter, her big, hopeful eyes mirroring Emily's. He had spent so long struggling, afraid to trust, afraid to lean on anyone. But maybe, just maybe, this was the second chance they both needed. He turned to Isabella and nodded. Okay. A smile broke across her face, and she exhaled in relief. Then let's start over. As they walked out of the office, Lily, chatting excitedly about all the things she wanted to do with her newfound Aunt Ethan, felt something he hadn't in years: hope. And for the first time, he truly believed they weren't alone anymore. Kindness has the power to change lives. Sometimes, a simple act of compassion, a helping hand, a listening ear, or an open heart can lift someone from struggle to hope. We never truly know the battles others are fighting, but when we choose to show empathy and generosity, we create ripples that can heal, rebuild, and bring people together.